Hi everyone, Jaime here. This channel is about dog training, dog moms, how to be a businesswoman, dog life in general, and my life with my husband and our 3 dogs. We are very rescue oriented. A lot of our, theories and, the way that we work things out. The way that we work things out are very rescue oriented and positive reinforcement oriented. So if that is what you're looking for, you came to the right place. Today I'm just going to be telling you guys a little bit about me and how I got started. Hi, Opal. I tried to get the dogs to calm themselves down and not be on the couch while I was doing this, but I figured, you know what, this is my life and this is why we're recording to begin with. So here they are. That's Opal on this side of me, and then this is Pudgelina. We call her Pudge for short. This is Opal Marie. Oakley is sleeping over that way, so you'll see him in a little bit, but he's actually being a very good boy. Hi, Opal. Hey, mommy, have a kiss. Mommy, have a kiss. So this is my little Catahoula puppy. She is blind. She was born that way, but she doesn't let it stop her at all. She's about 10 months now. We got her, she's born in December, and we got her in February, so it's almost been a year with her. So this holiday season will be her first, right, Mama? She's a good girl. She's very sweet. She is not disabled in any way. Yes, people say she's disabled, but she gets around just fine. So back to about me. I wanted to start this channel because I feel like I have a lot of knowledge to give back to the world, and I feel like it's kind of missing on YouTube in terms of dog training, positive reinforcement, and just having a very realistic take to it, rather than, oh, this is how you train your dog to sit, this is how you teach your dog to roll over. I think that there's a lot that go into dogs, and there's so many different topics, even like stuff that comes down to the vet, or how to socialize your dog properly. There's not a lot of that on YouTube from a very realistic, personal, authentic way. So I set out to do that, so I hope that I accomplish that, and I hope that everybody enjoys the ride. I have been doing this for about 4 years now, like full time. I graduated from Rowan University in South Jersey, and I was an art major. Go figure. I thought I was going to be a starving artist and make it big. I did well for a little bit. I actually did portraits of dogs, mostly. I have a problem. Dogs mostly for about 1.5 years. But it became very time consuming, and then once I wanted this to take off, there was just no time for it. So I was working in Philly, and I hated the drive because I lived in central Jersey. It was about an hour ride to the train and then a half an hour train ride in. So it was 3 hours a day that I was, really transporting myself, and it was just exhausting. I just felt like I was losing so much time for myself. So when I got home, I lived with my parents at the time, and they were like, are you ever gonna find anybody? And I was like, I'm working on it. And I didn't want to go out. I just wanted to stay home with my parents and just hang out and watch, movies with my dad and joke with my mom. And, there wasn't much going on for purpose for me. I definitely wasn't happy, and I definitely needed to figure out what I wanted to do long term. I mean, the art was wonderful. It was definitely a passion of mine for such a long period of time. It still is. It's just not something that I actively do. But it just wasn't doing it for me, fulfillment wise. So, I sat down one day and I said, what do I love? And I was like, oh my God, I love my dogs. Like, I love them. And I feel like I've always had a way with dogs. I was like, let me see if I can really even, is that even a thing to really become a dog trainer? I didn't know much about it. I was fresh out of college. And so I did a lot of research, and I found a really awesome program online. And I was like, you know what, let me give this a shot. So I came home one day and I said, Mom, I'm gonna be a dog trainer. And she was like, okay, I guess the time's now to do it. So I enrolled in Animal Behavioral College. Loved them. A lot of people have, where they went and, who they learned from and this and that. And I think it all matters about your experience and what you take away from all the information that you get. I don't think that whatever information you get, you have to use. I think that all education in all realms are really great when it comes to dog training, because you want to know what everybody else is doing, but you also want to find out what works for you and what you truly believe in. So I did the ABC program, and then I was like, all right, well, I should probably get a job in the field while I'm doing this, because it might take me a little bit. They say it could take 6 months up to a year, really depends on how much time you put into it. So I was like, oh, let me get, maybe doggy daycare. So I applied to a couple places, and I wound up working at Camp Bow Wow in Eatontown, New Jersey, which was like 25 minutes away from my house, which was like perfect. So I was working there for about 3 months. It was fun. It was a good experience. You got to work with people's animals that are already owned. And it was just nice to really get into the field while I started my training. And then, I actually started working with somebody from the SPCA. We were going to foster a pitty. It wound up not working out because that dog didn't do so well with my pitty. He was just too rambunctious for her, and she was very stressed out. So, but after that, I fell in love with the program in general. So, I kept tight with them, and then in January of that year, they were hiring, so I actually applied, and my interview was with my husband. So, long story short, I started working there. I was there for a little over a year, and I fell in love. My training, surprisingly enough, actually took a little bit of a back seat to the shelter because it was so important to me, and I was so into it and just in love with my job. I learned so much from that place. It's like the amount of information that I gained from that is invaluable. Like, that's what made me the trainer I am today. Not just like the training course I went through and all the books that I read and, all the different, videos I've watched. It's hands-on experience in the shelter. That's the reason why I'm so quick and why I can read body language so well, because I was literally thrown into these situations and you have no choice. So I learned so much. Probably 90% of what I do know is, from the shelter and working hands-on. It was an amazing experience. Once John and I started dating, that's my husband, by the way, John. Once we started dating, we started thinking, long-term, like, where do I see myself as a trainer? Because I think once I got to the shelter, I was kind of plateauing and aware of like, oh, I'll do this for the rest of my life, but it's not, moving forward, and it definitely wasn't going to be feasible, money-wise, moving forward. I needed more, I wanted to move out of my parents' house. He wanted to do the same, and we really needed to think long-term this was going to take us, and, how serious we were. We wound up getting engaged a year after we started dating. It was wonderful. He's a wonderful man. I wound up leaving the SPCA to work for a groomer. It was great money. I learned a lot, again, like reflexes. I just feel like I have a lot under my belt because of that as well. You're basically dodging bites all day long. You're learning a little bit more about dog hygiene and, how their bodies work and, what's important for owners to know that a lot of them don't know, and they should, like anal glands and how to cut your dog's nails without making them bleed, and what's the best way to groom your dog without getting them so worked up and putting them through hell. So I learned a lot from that situation, and I learned how to talk to clients where you didn't really learn that at the shelter. You didn't really talk to people too much other than adopters, and it was very much so like, this is the dog, this is what you're getting, this is what the dog is, and that's really, and then the adoption counselors would kind of take it away, whereas at the groomer, I had to really communicate and, deal with that from a business standpoint, so I learned a lot from that as well. While I was there, John and I kind of discussed, again, where am I going with this? I really want to put my training certification to the test. I actually finished my training certification while I was at the groomers. It was a little bit more hands-free. I had a little bit more time on my hands, a little bit more me time. Whereas as at the shelter, I was very enveloped in the shelter, and I even would stay late sometimes just because I loved being there. Great to love your job and great to be that way, but sometimes you need you time, and sometimes when you're using or when you're at a place like that where you're giving back and you just feel so good about what you're doing, you lose yourself a little bit because you're so into giving and doing that. So it was definitely time for me to take some me time and get my stuff together. So I finished my certification, and then we sat down one day and said, all right, what are we gonna do? So we decided to start a dog walking and training business, while also doing like pet sitting, like overnight stays for people that go on vacation. And it wound up really working out. We call it Possum Walks. I don't really walk anymore. I just train full time on a schedule by myself for the most part. I have about 6 or 7 great employees, friends, family even. They are the most important people in my life, other than my immediate family, that, you know, they are just wonderful. And we do all of Monmouth County, so we do a pretty big chunk of New Jersey. And we have a lot of set clients that, you know, depend on us. And I think it took off because of all of our background from the shelter. Everyone that works for me has worked at the shelter at one time and has had their background from there. So I think people really enjoy that. But it's been wonderful. I mean, what an amazing ride. I mean, that's been going on for like 3 years now. So it really took off. And from that, because that was doing so great and I really didn't have to do the walks anymore, I kind of just transitioned slowly. I started with my assistant Miranda. You know, we became really good friends from the shelter. And, you know, I said one day, you know, do you want a job? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, you know, come walk dogs with me. And she was like, okay, sounds great. And it was slow at first because it was really just me. So I could only fit in clients that I could walk during the day and make sure that I could get to everybody on time and make sure everybody was taken care of. So you don't want to bite off more than you can chew, because then you get yourself in a really big bind. So once I brought Miranda on, there was definitely a little bit more leeway for me to be like, all right, Miranda, you do these dogs and I'll go do these dogs, and we kind of flip-flop switch whatever works with our schedule. It wound up working out perfectly. She thrived. She's amazing. I don't know what I would do. Like, she's my work wife. So then slowly but surely we just kept adding people on. So now she is the manager of Possum Walks, and I, you know, she runs the whole damn thing. Scheduling, consults, clients, she really does it. I don't know where I'd be without her. So that is like amazing. Because Possum Walks has done so well, I was able to kind of go off on my own and transform. My husband came up with Possum University, which is, you know, separate, because I feel like Possum Walks was a little complicated for some people because they thought Possum Walks, it's just walking. Whereas University, you kind of get that whole like education vibe from it. So you look into it a little bit more if that's just what you're looking for. So, you know, Possum University was born, and basically I work Monday through Thursday full time. I have off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, make my own schedule. It's a dream. It is a dream. I love my job. I come home some days and I haven't seen John for hours, and I just sit down and I tell him, like, I had such a great day today. You know, this dog, that dog did this, you know, this dog, you know, remember what it was like 2 weeks ago. Now look at this now. And it's just like, there's so much transformation. And again, we do all positive reinforcement. So I don't use like prong collars or shock collars or yelling or screaming or leash pops. I don't do any of that. None. All of my training is safety first, emotions first. I think there's a lot of positive reinforcement trainers out there. I do solely, and I kind of came up with this on my own. Like I said earlier, like your training, what you learn, and your experience all come into it. And like, it's really up to you to come up with what your program is. I don't even usually say the word program, but just like how I do my job is I focus on emotions of dogs. I make sure that I am like really taking into account, not just, you know, what's in front of them, but what are they feeling and what are they seeing, because that's all they know. What I feel and what I see is how dogs function. They function very differently than we do. They rely a lot on our body language and our voice, and if we aren't communicating properly or we're not consistent, I mean, it's really impossible for them to learn and for us to expect any different from them. So what I like to focus on is the emotion aspect of training and making sure that I am doing my job and my part to communicate properly for these dogs to their parents and their families that this is what they need. So it's been a dream. I absolutely love it. I feel like for the first time in my life, I know exactly what I'm doing. It's just so wonderful to help a family that is in turmoil because they love their dog, but they have no idea what to do. And if something's not gonna get fixed, the dog has to leave. And that's like the last thing I want. Obviously, coming from that shelter standpoint, the last thing you want to see is a dog getting surrendered or rehomed or anything like that, because there's just so many other options. And I am the type of person that I believe that there are like 17 different options before we give up, no matter what. That's just how I feel. There are some people that completely disagree with me, like this dog has mental issues, you know, euthanasia sometimes gets thrown around, and I try everything, and I will never stop trying, because I do feel like regardless of trauma, dogs can come back from it just like people can. You just need to give it your all. Sometimes that's not the situation. Sometimes the family doesn't want to do everything they need to do to get the dog there. Maybe, you know, the love or the time or the effort, the want to try is gone. But again, I do everything I possibly can to bring that back so that dog has a second chance. I work with a lot of rescues. I work with a lot of shelters. It's something that I'm very, very passionate about. And I said to John from the very beginning, I said, if I'm not giving back, there's no point in doing this. Because the reason why I got into this was because, you know, if I could work at the shelter for the rest of my life, I would have, but it just didn't pay the bill. So if I'm going to do this and I'm going to put my heart into it, I want to have that same feeling that I had when I was working at the shelter. So going forward, you're going to get a lot of videos about training, about dog momhood, how to be a good dog owner, things that'll help you be better for your dogs and help other people train their dogs. A lot of people come to me with, you know, command issues or reactivity, barking like crazy, socialization with dogs and humans, men, you know, whatever they're scared of. I get a lot of dogs that have come from really abusive situations, and, you know, you need to rehab them. And I will give you guys all the tools, and we're going to have fun doing it. So I hope you guys tune into my channel. I hope you enjoy it. I'll most likely be doing videos about motherhood as well. I am about 5 months pregnant, so it'll be interesting to see how this channel goes as the baby comes and as I get bigger. I do plan on working up until the end. But fingers crossed that that's possible. So we'll see how that goes. But I really hope you guys tune in and join me and my husband. He is very much so in the same line of work that I am. He also worked for the shelter in a different aspect. He saved a lot of abused and abandoned dogs from horrible situations, and had to see some pretty horrible stuff. So he's a little bit out of that realm now. He works a lot with me and our business, and he does a lot of the creative stuff in the background, a lot of the advertising, the websites, the ads. We have a bunch of different little avenues that we work on. We actually have a podcast as well. So if you guys are into podcasts, please check us out. We are Possum University podcast. You can find that wherever you guys listen to your podcast, you know, the podcast app or Apple or Android, whatever you guys use, we're on there. It's a lot of fun. We, again, talk about a lot of the same things that I'm going to talk about here, but it's more of a conversation. We have a lot of guests come on, interviewers and stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun. But I hope you guys enjoy the ride. We're going to have a lot of fun with this and hopefully bring you guys a lot of knowledge about topics that have to do with dogs, that you can hopefully come to us and say, I need honest opinion. I need honest, you know, feedback about a certain situation from someone who knows what they're talking about, and isn't going to give you a BS answer. We are very open, we are very honest, and that is what you're going to get, and I promise you that. So I hope everybody has a great day, and please subscribe below so you don't miss any of our other videos that are going to be coming out, and stay tuned because we got a lot of fun going on here with 3 dogs. All right, everybody have a great day. Bye.